Tonight on CTV3 News, 4 persons identified as possible candidates for mediator in the BSCFA and the BSI-ASR commercial agreement negotiations. $3.1 million CIB case goes back to court. A mental patient is fatally shot by a cop in the city. Compo Williams says the shooting is justifiable. And the feeding program launched at the Guinea Grass RC School. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022.
Ever since I was a kid, I dreamt of going to Mars. You can keep my dream alive.
Come with me. You cannot, under any circumstances, leave my room, okay? Only for 35 days.
Enjoy your favorite HBO original series and movies with
Centaur, your kind of company.
I met Alex on the plane. When I woke up in the morning, he was so alive.
I think they know you're lying.
Enjoy your favorite HBO original series and movies with
Centaur, your kind of company.
Do you want quick cash for your gold? Then take advantage of Monica's Pawn Shop's big loans on gold and our guaranteed low rate of only 10% on all pawn jewelry. But it doesn't stop there. We also pawn TVs, buy scrap gold, and pawn vehicles that you can still drive. Visit Monica's Pawn Shop today in our Belize City location at number 128 Cemetery Road, our Belmopan location at number 5 Garden Plaza, our Orange Walk location, number 2 Belize Carazal Road. Give us a call at 207-0970 and get more money for your gold jewelry.
That's the way, Everyone, including our elderly, needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Centaur, your kind of company.
The Qatar 2022 World Cup is approaching. Start date November 20. Live the emotion of each match.
This man is absolutely mainline to pure footballing magic.
Each great goal.
Again, the menacing man arrives.
And each play.
Watch this hesitation right there. 3 players inside a telephone box, and he don't care.
Through Centaur. Subscribe now.
Centaur, your kind of company.
Good evening with your news. Also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. With less than a month away from the 2022-2023 crop season, the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, BSCFA, and the BSI ASR remain at odds over the signing of a new commercial agreement. As is, both entities are unable to come to terms with the selection of an international mediator to assist in the negotiations. While GOB has recommended a person for the position and the BSI ASR has agreed to the name, the BSCFA is yet to give their approval. But from all indications, the process is moving at a snail's pace, but at least it is. According to the Minister of Agriculture, Jose Abelardo Mai, BSI ASR has submitted one name for mediator, while the BSCFA has submitted the names of 3 candidates.
The situation is fluid. It is moving. It is moving. We understand that both teams now have submitted their list or the proposed name for mediation. That is where we are right now. I hope that by this evening, 1 o'clock, I have an update on who they have selected. I know that BSI has proposed one name of one person. The cane farmers have proposed, I think, 3 names. And so now we decide who will be the mediator. They will have to decide that who will be the mediator, and we need to start as quick as possible. I do believe we will have an agreement before the crop starts, an interim agreement at least, and then we believe that mediation can be ongoing while the crop is on. There should be no reason why there should not be a crop.
With the sugar industry facing a volatile situation, the hope remains that an agreement will be reached before the start of the crop, and if not, that members of the BSCFA will be able to deliver cane to the factory under an interim agreement.
We are still analyzing those resolutions. I think that there must be some kind of regulation. What it is yet, I don't have it with me, but there must be some kind of regulation that will allow for a smooth start of the crop. We hope that the crop will start and that we don't have to use the hammer fist, so to speak, or change any law to force anybody to do anything. But we hope that in all this, wisdom will prevail and that we will begin the crop.
And while there are those that believe that the intention of the BSCFA is to stall or hijack the new crop, Mai says the commercial agreement gives the association the right to negotiate for a better deal.
I think that the BSCFA, being the largest association and the largest supplier of cane to the mill, has a right to demand better payment or fair payment. Fair payment. The other associations have similar rights to do so. So that they are hijacking or arresting or putting at risk the industry, so to speak, I think that's what the question was saying. I don't think so. And that's why there is an agreement, there is a commercial agreement. That's why there are clauses in there that say if you want to change a certain a clause in there, you have a procedure to go by doing it. That is in the commercial agreement. So I don't think that it's fair to say that the BSCFA is jeopardizing or putting at risk the industry because they want to improve or they want fair payment. I don't think that that is so. I think that they have the right to negotiate. They have a right to want to change, just like the other associations want the right to change. Just like they wanted a right to be their own association, the BSCFA has that right too, and it's in the commercial agreement.
Similar to Mai, the Prime Minister has repeated his hope and insistence that the two sides come to an agreement because they are both needed in an industry that is once again seeing better days. A total of $3.1 million is what law enforcement seized from the mine beer company in Carmelita after a two-day raid in early October of this year. However, Caribbean International Brewery Company Limited believes that the raid was malintended. They say that law enforcement officers had no right to seize their cash. The FIU, on the other hand, says the money remained on lockdown at least for 3 months initially as they intend to demonstrate their suspicion that the funds were derived from unlawful activities. Well, the matter was back in court on Monday. However, as per our last interview with Dean Barrow, CIBS lawyer, he insisted he was taking the matter to the Supreme Court. But it appears that Barrow has changed his mind. Today, a calm Barrow was singing softly and to another tone. He has changed his position.
I opted for the judicial review because I thought that way I would have a chance, albeit slim, to get a stay, and if I would have been able to succeed in getting the stay, that would practically have meant that the money would have had to be returned. Going the route of the case stated would mean there would be no chance of getting that sort of interim order, and we would have had to wait until 8-9 months, long after the fact, and then just try to settle for damages if we were still able to show that what the magistrate did was wrong. So that was the reason for electing to go the route of judicial review. What we did was to apply, you guys are familiar with judicial review by now. It's a two-stage process. So you apply first for permission, for leave to bring the substantive judicial review. And if you get that leave, then the judicial review case proper takes place. But at the same time as you apply for leave, you apply, if you wish, for an interim injunction or for a stay of the proceedings that you are getting leave to challenge.
So that is that. However, when Senior Counsel Godfrey Smith for the FIU was called, he indicated he was not prepared because he had only been retained for his services over the weekend by the Attorney General, and so he needed time in order to represent the FIU adequately. Since Barrow had no objections, the case was adjourned for yesterday, Tuesday, but with demands on behalf of CIB's attorney.
You can adjourn the whole question of our application for leave. But in the meantime, I want to ask you for a stay of the proceedings that are to continue on Wednesday. And she said, well, come back tomorrow. This was on Monday. She said, come back Tuesday at 1:30 and I will hear you on that. And so that's what took place yesterday at 1:30. Remember now, the actual application for permission to go for judicial review has not yet been heard. That's been put off until sometime in December, perhaps even as late as January of next year. I made my case, and she declined to grant the interim stay. She said that when she looked at the balance of convenience, her position was that the harm has already been done to my clients. They're already suffering harm, and they seem to be managing. And so she did not think that it would be right to grant a stay, which would mean that they get back immediately their money, in effect, making the extended judicial review proceedings almost academic. She said that, I hear you about your clients being prejudiced as long as the money is being detained. But, she said, if you succeed with judicial review, they can be compensated by a suitable award in damages. In other words, the loss that they're undoubtedly suffering from being operationally squeezed in consequence of not having all this money that they would use as working capital, that can be dealt with by a proper award in damages if you win down the road.
Barrow voluntarily withdrew his application for a case stated. His intention was to have a chance yesterday at arguing that $3.1 million be returned to CIB before year ends. He was unsuccessful. However, what he does have a chance now is to argue in court for CIB to be awarded for damages caused to the company. So is the saga surrounding Belize's other bear ending soon? While Attorney Smith says Barrow is dragging the process.
So we come to court this morning prepared to resume and continue this matter that has been dragging out for a long time, in an unreal way actually, only to be met by an application that the magistrate ought to recuse herself, meaning she should withdraw from the case and no longer sit on that. Why? His grounds, as far as we can understand it, is that when he applied for judicial review to the High Court, it was his client versus the magistrate and the Attorney General. I appeared on behalf of the Attorney General. I said so on record, and we argued that the decision that no stay, no injunction should be granted. His allegation is because of that. The suggestion is that I am representing the magistrate, and therefore the magistrate will appear to be biased and should no longer sit.
Are you
Barrow is now challenging the fact that the existing magistrate on the matter recused herself based on her jurisdiction and orders made basing himself that the orders are null. So then it begs the question, is Attorney Godfrey Smith representing the magistrate? Barrow defines his argument by saying that if Attorney Godfrey Smith was hired to represent all parties on behalf of the government, then it means that the sitting magistrate is also represented by Smith, who is an officer under the Ministry of the Attorney General.
When we got there on Monday and Mr. Smith asked for time, he indicated, as I recollect, that he had been just retained over the weekend by the Attorney General. He had been retained by the Attorney General, but to, as it were, represent all the Attorney Generals, all the agents of the state. That had to have included the magistrate. In my submission, the magistrate can't get the benefit of representation by Mr. Smith yesterday and then come back and sit today and allow herself to hear Mr. Smith in his representation of one of the parties before her when Mr. Smith has just represented her. Clearly, the man on the street, the test of apparent bias, is right away provoked. So what? There is a joinder of interest between the magistrate and Mr. Smith?
Our position on that is in judicial review proceedings where decisions of any tribunal are challenged, it's the decision, it's not the magistrate personally. So if I can draw an analogy, which you may be more familiar with, you go to court, two parties go to court, they argue a case, one side wins. The next side appeals to the Court of Appeal. What happens? The winning side, what does he do? He defends the decision that went in his favor. There's no conflict there if the matter is sent back to the High Court. So it's not the magistrate in her personal decision. It's a decision that one is dealing with. So questions of bias based on family connections, based on interests and so on doesn't arise. There are established grounds for actual bias and appearance of bias. In this case, the magistrate is not personally involved. It's the decision that we're arguing about. So I have no doubt that that application in the fullness of time will also not succeed.
Barrow says that if the magistrate stays, he won't even bother to fight.
As I've said to her, if she decides not to recuse herself, all we say is those submissions that we made to you, which are now the grounds on which our judicial review challenge is based, please note for the record that we renew those submissions, but we're not going to come back and waste any time.
The FIU is convinced that the $3.1 million must remain under custody as an active investigation continues its process. The matter will be back in court on December 14th, 2022. Coming up next, the government's feeding program. Securely.
Centaur, your kind of company.
Se acerca el Mundial Qatar 2022, fecha de inicio 20 de noviembre. Viva la emoción de cada partido.
Le quiere hacer un puente al portero, pero este no se deja. ¡Qué leñazo, señores!
De cada golazo. Y de cada jugada.
Y ese reanuda el juego con un bote tuya, mía. Tenla, te la presto, dámela.
A través de Centaur. Suscríbase ahora.
Centaur, your kind of company.
Win big with Shell. Shell is giving away over $20,000 in prizes this Christmas. One lucky customer will win $6,500 in fuel. Plus, over 40 customers will win either $150 in fuel vouchers or $500 in cash. To enter, spend $40 million or more in fuel. Complete the entry form and drop it in the boxes provided. Fuel up with Shell this Christmas for your chance to win. Promotion runs from November 21 to December 31, 2022. Terms and conditions apply. Visit solpetroleum.com/winbig with Shell for more details. Shell trademarks are used by Sol Brands Incorporated under license from Shell Brands International AG.
A well-nourished, healthy, and educated population is the foundation for growth and economic development. Thus, investing that is in children's nutrition, health, and education, and sustaining this into adolescence will help children to reach their full potential, become productive adults, and break the intergenerational cycle of malnutrition. However, not all children have the possibility of obtaining a healthy meal daily, and this is due to several reasons. But here in Belize, the governments and Mexico and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, are ensuring that 488 primary school students are receiving a free, healthy meal daily as school feeding programs get underway in Belize. Today, the program was launched at the Guinea Grass RC here in Orange Walk. Elmer Cornejo reports.
As of today, students enrolled at the Guinea Grass RC School will be receiving a free healthy meal daily as part of the institution's feeding program. This is made possible with the support of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Government of Mexico in collaboration with the Government of Belize. Together, these entities have been providing health meals daily for a number of students at certain schools across Belize. The hot meals are provided under the Resilient School Feeding Program. fully funded by the Mexican Agency for International Development Cooperation, in collaboration with the Caribbean Community Secretariat, with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations as the implementer.
This is a Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations project. We are working in cooperation with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Agriculture. And so all three institutions are coming together to start a feeding program at this school, which has never had a feeding program before. Okay, so we developed menus, and they are developed for to be nutritionally adequate for 9 to 13-year-old children. And we developed about 20 lunch items and 10 breakfast items that would be complete nutritional for this age range. And so then what we did is we broke down those menus into all the component items, and we said, all right, here is a suggested menu for 30 days. If we were feeding children, 100 children for 30 days, how much of each ingredient would we need? And then we went out to the shops and we costed everything. The chicken, the rice, the vegetables and fruits. We did it twice to capture different times of the year. And then we averaged the cost all together, and we said, okay, what we have found is that on average, as of May 2022, this menu will cost about $3 Belize per child per day.
Okay, just to interject there, from May until now, we've seen a lot of things on the shelves go up, including vegetables and fruits. How is it that at $3 still embarks a number that is adequate for the meals?
One of the things we did consider is seasonality and how prices change during the season, especially because we're focusing on the diversity of fruits and vegetables in the menus. So what we did is we built flexibility into the menus, and we gave those cooks a chart, and they said, if you have any of these vegetable items, they can be substituted into these vegetable items. So if you go to the market and you see right now tomatoes are $7 a pound, you can use this instead, maybe chocho, which is much cheaper. And so that's where we're trying to address that, because as you say, while we were developing it, we were seeing the inflation, so we knew this was going to be a future concern. But also, when schools start buying in bulk and starting being able to link in with the small farmers and buy directly from them in their communities, we're also hoping that will help keep the costs more reasonable for the school feeding. Because the Ministry of Education actually has the responsibility for funding the supplies and the provisions. That is not provided by FAO. That is the Ministry of Education. And of course, they are very cost conscious as well, because they want to keep this project sustainable and ongoing.
With the project focused on creating sustainable school feeding programs, here at Guinea Grass Roman Catholic School, the faculty and staff is elated to form part of the initiative.
We appreciate the feeding program given to us. The children are very happy. We are focusing on breakfast. You know, as when the FAO came and they did their interview, our students really in need of breakfast. So we are focusing on breakfast. And children are very happy. Parents as well appreciate. They know they are given a time schedule to when the students will be getting their breakfast. So I tell students, just have your little coffee and then we will be giving you the breakfast. And we try to have the breakfast as 8:30 to 9:30. They are already with all breakfast. Every day we are feeding about 4 classes. The attendance is good. Just the other day I had a call from a parent saying, you know, her child has fever, but the child is crying and she wants to come to school because it's her breakfast day. You know, so that is a very good impact. It is helping. We are having 100% attendance.
The project follows the sustainable school feeding model for the FAO Brazil Technical Cooperation and other FAO frameworks, with the leadership of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology and the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise. It seeks to promote the provision of healthy diets while creating linkages with local farmers.
We are a part of the program with the Ministry of Agriculture, and so since the beginning of the project we have been intimately involved. Our support is the financial aspect. After the program funding has completed, then the Ministry of Education will do its part as it relates to ensuring that there's funds for the feeding program to continue.
What are those numbers looking like?
For this school, it's 80, but when we are looking at the other schools, we are expecting at least 1,000 students to be fed for this particular project.
Agriculture is a collaborator in this project. Ministry of Education is the implementer in this case. But how do we collaborate with Ministry of Education in the school feeding program is that our farmers are called to produce the healthy foods for the schools. There is a component of the food that has to come from the farmers. So our role is to ensure that the farmers are trained to produce safe and wholesome foods for the children of the school. Secondly, there is a greenhouse component to this project. Again, this is a project that the 6 schools will receive their greenhouses. We have a team in Central Farm led by one of our very well-known agronomists, Harold Westby, who move around the country installing greenhouses. So that's our role in the Ministry of Agriculture. We will do the heavy lifting when it comes to the greenhouses in the schools that are beneficiaries of this project.
Based on specific needs the schools find themselves in, the program diverts into finding solutions for these issues. To date, a total of 6 schools in Belize have received infrastructure upgrades to existing kitchens or converting spaces into kitchens and outfitting with new appliances, including Guinea Grass RC School.
The facilities you see now, they used to be a library and a computer lab, and so that has been now converted into a very food safety conscious kitchen that can hopefully in the future provide meals for all of the school population. We have also provided education for the cooks as far as food safety. We provided menus so that they can provide healthy meals to the children, and also they can menu plan so that they can forecast their demand and they can link in with the local farmers and buy directly from the local farmers. It is really important that the food produced obviously be nutritious and safe. That's a big component here. As I mentioned, this was a library, the kitchen, so we upgraded the electrical, the plumbing, we brought in all new appliances, all new utensils, and even included things like thermometers so that the cooks could make sure that they are cooking in a safe manner for the children. And we trained during the training, how do you make sure that the temperatures are at the right level so we are keeping the food safe for the children.
The project also aims to provide assistance for school gardens and increase the capacity of small farmers and their organizations to participate in the government's National Healthy Start Feeding Program by linking small producers to schools in their community.
Each school will receive a garden. As of right now, the plans haven't been finalized. The gardens will be used as a teaching tool. The Ministry of Education has recently upgraded their curriculum, brought in a new curriculum, and it has much more of a focus on gardens being used in every subject. So this is the opportunity for children to get out, see where their food is coming from, and bring it into their everyday, experiences, make them more familiar with the food that they're eating, hopefully in their lunches every day, because we're also focusing on bringing fruits and vegetables in their lunch, making it very familiar and accessible to them every day.
One more positive thing that has come out of this project is that 5 more parents have received a job as cooks at the school's kitchen, who by extension also stand to benefit from this initiative.
Presently we have 5 cooks. We have 1 head cook and the others are the helpers, and they are really helping the school. We are here from 7 in the morning so that the breakfast be ready by 8:30 when the bell rings.
To date, 488 primary schools have a feeding program across Belize. Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
Currently, a survey is being carried out to identify other schools that can join the program. Video footage captured on a cell phone went viral this morning. In the 13-second video footage, it shows that at least 7 officers responding to an incident on the swing bridge in Belize City. Only one police officer is seen with a handgun pointing at the man. One warning shot is heard, and in the video it shows the sparks as the bullet is set off. The crowd of bystanders and police officers are then seen clearing the way. A split of a second later, a second gunshot is heard. The sparks can be seen in the footage also. A third shot is set off, and this is when the male person makes advancements towards the officer wielding what appears to be a knife. It is unclear if the officer is injured or not, as the video ends exactly there. Best information to our newsroom is that the male person is believed to be a mental health patient who was shot dead by officers responding to a distress call. This incident happened before 10 a.m. this morning. The deceased has been identified as 48-year-old Francisco Ramos, a well-known figure in the downtown area who also goes by the alias Snake Eyes. Reports say he's been aggressive as of recently. This led him to this morning when he charged at a police officer with a knife. As a result, he was fatally shot. Today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams stated that while a formal investigation is underway, the actions of the police officer that fatally shot Ramos are, to this point, justifiable.
I saw a video that is all over social media already that depicts exactly what happened. So it's not about the police version. It is more about what the video depicts. And from what I saw, we have a person who the police were in pursuit of due to complaints that was made to the police about him. He was cornered on the bridge by some police officers who sought to detain him. While they were doing so, he moved towards one of the police officers who was in plain clothes. The police officer, quite professionally and calmly, stepped back way and first fired one shot to one leg. The person continued to advance to the police with the knife. The police again, exercising great restraint, considering his life to be in danger, he again fired another shot to the other leg. That still did not neutralize the individual. I don't know if he was under drugs or some substance, but after the second shot to the other leg, he continued to advance in a more aggressive manner to the police with a big knife in his left hand, as you can see in the video, and the police moved from the lower limbs to the upper body and fired one shot, causing the person fatal injury. Now, I don't know what people expect of the police, but let me say that the deceased person, who has been identified as Francis Ramos, if you all would go and check your archives, you would see that in 2013, he was convicted of attempted murder after he viciously stabbed a person on Bannock Street. In 2021, last year, he was again charged for a stabbing of another individual. And in that same incident, when the police had gone to arrest him, he swung at the police with a machete. Thankfully, the police was quite fit and versatile. He avoided the blades of that machete. If not, he would have killed a policeman.
According to the Compol, after the completion of the investigation, the file will be sent to the Department of Public Prosecution for further directives.
When the criminal investigation is done, the file will be sent to the DPP office for a determination to ascertain if, in fact, the DPP will be satisfied that the police acted in self-defense. That is not going to be something that I am going to determine. We'll investigate, put all the evidence, and send the file to DPP, and they are going to be the ones to make that determination. In terms of the internal investigation, when that is done, it is going to be sent to myself for review, and then we'll see if the officer breached any procedure, any of our policies, and then we see how we go from there.
So all of that is well understood, fact-checked, everything that you're saying is absolutely true. The question is, we know that once it had gotten to that point where this individual was charging the officer had no choice but to fatally wound him. However, there were many police officers on that bridge. Wasn't there a moment prior where these officers could have gotten the situation under control to take that knife away without having to kill this individual?
I don't know, Cherise. If you were in that position, what would you have done? I am not, or I was not on the bridge to say what I would have done, but certainly anybody in their right mind is not going to try and aggress an allegedly madman with a knife. Because as much as you may say that they could have neutralized without using any lethal force, what would have happened if one of the officers jumped from off the railing of the bridge to where the individual was? It would take one simple move and he could stab and kill the police. If you in America just take out a knife or any weapon, they don't wait, you're dead. So to say that in advanced nation, it would have been different, I don't buy that. The police officers exercise great restraint, and anyone who wants to condemn what the police officer did, something is wrong with them mentally as well.
The Carl Houston Memorial Hospital, KHMH, not only functions as a district hospital for the Belize district, but as well as the National Referral Hospital. In recognition of the dedication of the KHMH nurses and the need for comfortable workspaces, the Public Utilities Commission, PUC, sponsored the renovation of 4 nurses' lounge at the KHMH. The PUC invested $30,000 in August of this year to uplift the nurses' lounge in the labor and delivery, maternity, general, medical, and surgical wards. Today marks the culmination of these renovations and the handover to the nurses for them to enjoy. The PUC's chairman, Dean Molina, says we have a great admiration for all healthcare workers of Belize. They have dedicated so much of their lives to provide essential services for our nation. As an organization, we think that it is only befitting that we renovated these lounges to improve the workplace of the nurses at the KHMH, since they provide round-the-clock critical services to all Belizeans. In accepting the donation on behalf of all the nurses, Mrs. Keslin Lezama thanks the PUC for assisting nurses to meet the need for a space where the nurses can rest, revitalize, and engage in social interaction outside the patient care area, which will help to improve morale and efficiency in the unit. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Thursday, November 24th here on CTV3 and Face FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at CTV3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.